Hello and welcome to Ask Dr. Callahan. This is Tuesday, our 7 o'clock normal spot that we're trying to help homeschool parents make decisions about what they're doing for especially their math, but in general, they're a high school planning for college, what we're going to do. One of the things we like to do is always keep the end in mind as you're doing high school, thinking about what's going forward. So I'm a college professor of engineering, and when we look at the engineering, when we look at the university, I'm looking at things kind of from the other perspective of what, where the students are coming to. And also I spend a lot of time working with industry and the people that hire engineers, physicists, STEM majors, but just hire in general, and what the market is asking for. I'm always hearing about that. So what we want to do is help you as you're looking forward with your student is to think through, where are they going? What are they trying to do? How are they going to get there? And what's out there on the end? Because that's what you're doing really right now is, besides in the high school, besides preparing your students to think and to learn basic skills, you're also preparing them at kind of this lifelong learning and their ability to keep learning and keep growing, and then preparing for what they might be doing to earn a living. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, my specialty is obviously in STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But now we're calling it STEAM, and I forget what the even stands for. But anyway, because we're adding things to it. But when we look at the fields going into college and the kind of things that you need to prepare for, the STEM tends to be the most difficult in general. There's specialties in those that have difficulties themselves, but in general, if you just look at college globally or in the United States, what fields are the most challenging for students? And they tend to be the STEM, and mostly because of the mathematics. And we talked about that last time in the last video about how do you prepare for that. But the question keeps coming up from many of you as we talk about this all the time. And then in the last video, we talked about preparing. And if you go back, you can see, and I think we even reposted it today because it was a popular video. We got lots of comments from YouTube and various things about it, about getting the planning, having the path of what to do for college. So that's out there. But the questions we are getting about is dual credit, CLEP credit, and AP courses. And we always get, because we're doing it, especially in our calculus series, we start getting questions from parents. Is this AP calculus? Will this satisfy the CLEP exams and those kind of things? I'm not going to get into those kind of things tonight. I want to just talk about generally what is dual credit, what is CLEP, and what is AP credit. And I'm talking mostly from a university perspective, from what we're looking for, because that's why we do that, right? So let me just kind of walk you through what these things are. We hear these terms all the time. And let me just be frank, I hear these terms spoken a lot of times, and the things I'm hearing are not completely accurate. We make decisions a lot of times. We hear a lot of information, and it's not always the whole story. And I hope to kind of give you a more fair and balanced act, if you will. So let's start with dual credit. So what is dual credit? Dual credit is where a college class is open for you to take, for your son or daughter to take, even though they're not formally accepted. Generally speaking, if you're going to come to my university and you're going to take a course, you've got to be accepted at some level. Now, we have different things at the graduate and undergraduate level where a student can come in and take courses. This is one of them. They don't have to formally be accepted. If you ask me, it's a little bit of a over-thought out, overplayed kind of hand. And it's making things a little too complex, because frankly, you could probably just go up there and take these courses anyway, and they will let you. Because remember, a university, we are providing a service in exchange for money. Now, if your son or daughter comes and does okay in a class, then we're happy to take your money. If they keep, and we're happy to keep taking your money. Some are going to make it more difficult than others, but so some will have what they call a dual credit. I'm always kind of shocked at the university, at this gate, this facade that we have, that students cannot get in, that students cannot come here and pay us money. Now, granted, we don't want students showing up that are going to lower our records, lower our averages. We get measured on things like, how many students survive. We don't call it that, but how many survive, how many make it through to the end of their degree. We get measured on those things, and they ding us. So that's what we care about when we see a student coming in. And one of the reasons they do dual credit. So, but here's what dual credit is, especially the college letting you come in, your son or daughter come in and take a course, even though that they're not officially in an official program, such as business or engineering or science or something like that. So that's really all it is. And what homeschool parents are generally doing is, I need to take a calculus class, and so they take a calculus class instead of me teaching it. They go to the university, they take it, and I count it as my high school credit, and I count it as college credit. So that's called dual credit. Now, let me just make a statement here. Anytime, as a homeschooler, here's the beauty of the system. You are in charge. Anytime they are taking a class at a university or anywhere else, you count it. Why would you make your son or daughter do something twice? That's just doing things just for the sake of keeping books. Don't do that. We do things all the time where we count things twice at the university, right? Because it's logical. It makes sense. It serves the people we're serving. We don't want to just do things just for the sake of doing them. So we try to, you got to do them legally and ethically and all that. But if your son or daughter is taking a calculus class or any kind of class anywhere else, count it toward their credit, as long as it makes sense in their curriculum and with your cover school and those kind of things. So that's dual credit. AP exam. What is the AP exam? We hear about the AP exam, and what we usually hear about, and I'm going to use calculus, but there's like 30 something subjects as I remember. There's a lot of subjects. I'm going to give you the links. We'll put the links here in Facebook to the AP and the CLEP, so you can see all their subjects. So the AP is an exam given by the College Board, the same people who do the ACT. They're given on specific dates, usually in May. So, and generally what we see is a student will go and they'll sign up for an AP calculus course, for instance. They'll sign up for an AP calculus course. They'll take that course all year. At the end of the year, so they'll pass the course, they'll do okay. At the end of the year, they will then take the AP exam. Now, just because you take the course doesn't mean you have to take the exam, but you don't have to take the course to take the exam. That's a misconception. A lot of people think you've got to take a certified AP course, and it may have used to have been that way, but right now that's not how it is. You do not have to take a certified AP calculus course to take the test. You just have to be prepared to take the test. So whether you learn on your own, you take our calculus course or somebody else's course, what you want to do is look at what's going to be covered on the test and prepare for it, just like you do any other test. So a lot of people say, well, it's easier if you have an AP teacher. Well, maybe so, but it doesn't have to be a certified AP. They don't come around and stamp AP, on courses in the way that they might have used to, but they don't do that right now. Our course, the way we can package it is an AP, and lots of people can do AP courses. But really all you're doing, it doesn't matter. All you're doing is preparing to take the test, and you take the test in May. Okay, so that's an AP exam. The CLEP exam, so you got dual credit AP exam and the CLEP exam. The CLEP exam is geared toward, generally speaking, it was kind of geared to the people that were out of school and they needed some credit. There's others, by the way. I'm not going to cover some of the Dantes and some of the other things because these are the three most popular. But CLEP is also written by the College Board. Isn't that ironic? So it's the same people who do the ACT, the same people who do the AP, the same people who write the CLEP. So you can probably guess the tests look very much the same. It's a similar concept. You can also probably guess if you do really well in ACTs, you're prepared well for these exams and so on and so forth, because they're written kind of the same construct. So the difference between a CLEP and a AP is you can take it anytime. You don't have to just wait. You can just, if you can study for it and take it today or tomorrow and just go to a place. And again, we'll give you we'll give you the link to the sites. All right. So let me talk a little bit about the pros and cons of these, because I will often hear parents talk about, well, one's better than another, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do this. Well, no, none of that is true. There's not one of these that is better than another, except in specific situations. You might find out for your specific situation, one of these makes more sense than others. First, let's talk about the dual credit. Where you go to a university, you take a course. First of all, you need to find a university. So usually it is it is the junior college type thing, maybe 4 year or 2 years, something. They're more likely to do these, but who knows? Really, anybody who wants to participate can do a dual credit course. So the pros are, if you're going to be taking the course anyway, it's fairly cheap and easy to do. Most colleges discount it a little bit. It's not, you're not paying the whole college rate. So it's maybe cheaper. It's probably not cheaper than many of your other alternatives for taking a course, but as compared to the college course, it's a little cheaper. And it depends on the college. I'm not going to even try to put a price on it. Colleges do various kinds of discounts. So the cons are that not every school accepts these kind of, I'm sorry, wait a minute. I've lost my place. The cons are, no, I was telling you about the AP. I'm so sorry. Let's get back to dual credit. The pros are, it's good for courses. I'm so sorry. It's good for courses where the labs and you do not have the equipment. You are going to be, so you're teaching a physics, for instance, and they have an AP physics, and they have a dual credit physics, and you don't have the equipment at home to do physics and chemistry and biology and some of these things is where you're going to see this a lot. You get to not have to invest in making your kitchen a laboratory. And so in chemistry, you cannot even buy many of the chemicals you need to do the actual experiments. So if you go to a college, your son or daughter can get that experience and actually be in a real lab and do that through AP courses. There's a real advantage because probably even though the AP courses are going to cost a little bit more than your typical homeschool course, by the time you build your own lab in your kitchen, it gets kind of cost prohibitive. And if you're not the kind of person who likes to dissect frogs on your kitchen counter, this might be a good option for you. The other pro, it's a good test run for your students in college. It's kind of a single shot, go to class, and you get an experience. They get to experience things, how it's going to look, whether it's junior college or not, it's pretty much the same stuff, right? And there is college credit, generally speaking. Now that's up to the college how they operate that, but generally speaking, they're going to get the 3 to 4 hours of college credit that they do to take this course. Okay, so that's the pro side of that. The con side of this is, compared to taking a course in the homeschool setting, this is expensive. It's a higher cost. It's at a discount, sure, but let's say a typical college cost. I'm just going to U.S. average for a 3-hour college course is about $1,500. That's average, not counting books and fees and things like that. So they will give you a discount. So they might charge you $500 or $1,000 or something like that. They'll give you a discount for a dual credit course, but still, that's a lot of money compared to what you would be doing otherwise. Again, except for lab fees and things like that, or you're building your lab. There is if they are not ready, if your son or daughter is not ready for college and they show up in a college classroom, especially in an intense kind of an AP environment, because what we're talking about here is generally the chemistries and the physics and the calculus. They're typically more intense courses. At junior level, it doesn't really, junior college level or anything doesn't really matter. And so, it could give them a run for their money, and now they've got a college grade on the record. You can withdraw and you can do all those kind of things. Usually, again, you have to check those kind of things out. The other disadvantage and the other risk here is, let me just tell you, college environment is worldview risky. Worldview risky. I think we all know that, but for the many of us that have been out of college for years, no, it is worldview risky. It is a crazy place. I don't care which one you go to. It's just a crazy mindset going on. And it's not so much the faculty. It's part of the faculty, and it's part of what goes on in the indoctrination that's going on. Trust me, I live in this environment. This was real. But a lot of it's the student body that you're hanging around and the culture. So it's a rough place to be. And so again, you have to be ready mentally, spiritually, and all kinds of ways to do an AP course. But many students do them and they do fine. So pick your course, pick the school you're going to go to, kind of know what you're getting into. Usually your son or daughter's got to be old enough anyway. They can't probably be 12 and do this, but they probably need to be a certain age. Again, whatever the college requires. Now, so the second one, that's pros and cons of the dual credit. Let's look at pros and cons of the AP exam. And I've got notes here, so I'm reading my notes. That's a mistake, but reading my notes, I was reading the wrong line a minute ago. I apologize. So that's just to keep me in the right place. So the AP exam, let's talk about the pros and the cons of the AP exam. So the AP exam, unlike the dual credit, is where you just go and you take the exam. Generally speaking, they're going to be in May. They could change those games, but it's kind of a one-shot deal of taking it. The pro is if you're going to be taking the course anyway, if you're already taking calculus or some course that has an AP college credit and you're taking it at home, go take the exam. The cost is really cheap. Let's say it's about $125, and it's gives and takes depending on testing centers and things like that. But it's going to be $120. If your son or daughter passes the AP test, that's $120 compared to $1,500. That's a deal, right? That's a great financial win. So so if you're going to be taking the test anyway, it's a great kind of final exam methodology. Is so you just make sure that the curriculum that you're using covers everything on the AP exam. If it doesn't, patch up any places that aren't by self-study. And because a lot of times courses and books change, and even the AP exam might change what they're covering. But it's easy. You're going to get the basics, or you're going to get the meat of it, and you might have to add some other things around. But go ahead and take the test. It's $120. It's a great practice in test taking. If you pass it, it's a big win. But if you don't pass it, you can't. You've kind of blown your shot for the year. Some cons. So not from the AP exam, not every school accepts it. So just because you show up at my university and say, hey, I have AP credit for Calculus 1 or Calculus 2 or whatever, I don't have to accept it, right? That's up to me as a university. Now, we will always negotiate, right? We will always negotiate. And so you can oftentimes pull those kind of things off, even if it says they will not take it. But even if the university takes it, it doesn't mean the specific program. If you're going into physics or engineering or something like that, they may not take it, even though the university as a whole will take it. So you want to check those kind of things and make sure that those are going on. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You have a limited time to take these exams in the sense that they're only offered once a year. So you get it or you don't. And there are some rules about taking the exam, like calculus is broken up. This kind of a calculus 1, calculus 2 thing. Calculus AB, they call it, and calculus BC. You cannot take them both in the same year. I don't care how prepared you are. So you could take one of them and pass it and then take the other next year. So from a calculus series point of view, For a high school student, it's probably unlikely you'll take both of those from an AP side. Now, here's the part I really don't like is there's a 5-year window on using the courses in general. So if you bring an AP course to me and as a university and you put it on your transcript, let's just call it Calculus 1. We give you credit for Calculus 1 from AP. And you don't graduate in 5 years. For some reason, you join the military, you get married and have a family, you go to work, whatever happens. I mean, look, when we look at a typical engineering career, a typical engineering program, I don't care how old it says 4 years, is generally a 5-year program. Generally, when students go through it, that's how long it takes. So if you have an AP credit in high school and you need to count it to your graduation for university, and you got a 5-year window, you might be outside of that window. Now you got to check and ask questions, but you kind of need to get things in writing here, what they'll accept and what they will not. So because you don't want to have showing up at graduation or near graduation and saying, well, you need to go back and take that exam again or do something to show you got credit. I've never really heard of that happening, but being that it's got a 5-year window and tracking and things, you don't ever know what's going to happen. Universities change, deans change, your programs change, your program chairmen, your department chairs change. All those kind of things change, and deals can get changed. So as a parent looking at these, that's something you want to look at. Now let's talk about the CLEP exam. Pros of the CLEP exam. Again, very cheap, about $100. I'm going to just say $100, $125 is about the same price as the AP. Again, compare that to $1,500 in college. That's a win. Now, the pro of the CLEP, it can be taken at any time. As a matter of fact, if you take it and you flunk it or you don't pass it, however you want to look at it, let's just call it what it is. You flunk it and you will need to go back and take it again. Then there's a certain time delay. I don't think you can do it like the next day, but you can, but it's certainly not all year. You can go back and go take that test again very quickly. The CLEP exam scores last 20 years. So, wow. So I'll get to that in a minute. So it's a 20-year window. There's these are all written by, these exams are given by College Board. So again, I'm going to give you the link to this. The cons, again, not every school accepts it. So sometimes you're going to find a school that accepts AP and will not accept CLEP, accepts CLEP and not accepts AP, accepts both, accepts none. So you've got to ask some questions. We'll get to that in a minute. Limited credit counts. Oftentimes a university will only let you transfer so many of these in. That's true of the AP too, by the way. If you showed up with 100 CLEP or AP credits, I don't know if that's possible, but if you showed up with 100 of them, they're not going to say, well, just go get in the line and go get your diploma. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have to pay the university something. So that's the dual credit, AP and CLEP. So let's talk about kind of just some practical advice about how we might do these things from a parent standpoint or from your student standpoint planning. So number one, start with your primary goal. So think about, looking at Johnny and Susie sitting there preparing for college. What is the hardest? And by hardest, I mean the most academically challenging path that you think they're going to go down, the hardest college path that they're going to go down, such as, and generally we're looking at STEM type paths, maybe medicine, throw that in there. And also what colleges and degree paths, right? So if you say, well, I want to know, we really want to go to Texas A&M and we want to go into business and finance. Okay, great. But maybe that's one of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 options, right? But that's kind of your target option. Then go talk to them. Because now we're talking about Texas A&M, business, finance. There is a director of that. There is some faculty member that directs that program that you can email, that you can call, that you can go visit and talk to and just ask them these questions and get their inside input. So if you're looking at 5 universities and a couple of different programs, it's easy to explore this and say, these guys take AP, these guys take CLEP, and these people don't do either. You know, it's easy to kind of start putting this in the formula because this is a financial game. This is a huge financial game if your son or daughter will do these exams. Wow, look at the price difference. So you think about a $1,500 average course at a university for one course. Now, I'm just talking about average. Many of them are more than that. Compare that to basically $1,400 discount per course. I mean, so we're talking about a 90% discount rounding, but you get the idea. That's huge. Every CLEP or AP credit you can take to the university is a huge financial win. You want to talk about scholarships? This is huge. So now you can also call and find out what they will and will not accept. I would recommend that. Now, I will throw one other thing in here. If your son or daughter finds themselves in a the great situation on the ACT or the SAT where they've got scholarship dollars and full ride type scholarships, look at the numbers. 'Cause sometimes they won't let you do these kind of things on those, but you're just comparing numbers, So, hey, this scholarship is going to pay most things. By the way, most full scholarships, just a hint if you haven't figured this out yet, full scholarships are not full scholarships, generally speaking. Full scholarships is everything but food and housing and all these other kind of requirements that the university gets. So look carefully, but you kind of want to say, okay, well, CLEP, because if you take a bunch of CLEP and you get the credit, you might decide not to use it. That's okay. This is basically the amount you'd pay for taking a homeschool course anyway. So you're going to start primary goals. What you want to do is you're trying to understand the end. Go to the universities, talk to the people, see what they'll take, and get in your head what the plan is. And then plan for the exams. Prep, right? So there's great prep courses for CLEP. Our son's doing one right now where it's online. You got all the CLEP courses. You don't even have to take the course. It kind of walks you through the material and tests you over and teaches you what you don't know. There's a whole bunch of things like that. Many of them are excellent, and they'll get you prepared for the exam. And you're going to take the exam and you pass. So it helps you to plan for the exams, helps you to practice for the exams. Same thing for AP. It's just the AP's got the one shot. So the other thing is do with this as soon as possible. Kind of plan it out. Think about it. Put it on paper. No need to wait. When I'm just sitting here thinking, I cannot imagine why a homeschool parent would not be doing one of these. And let me just tell you my preferred method. Now, granted, depends on the university and situation, but if the university accepts CLEP, that's the way to go. It's got a 20-year record. You can take 20-year keeping time for the scores. You can take them over and over. You don't have this one-shot deal. And it's written by the same people, and nobody cares. Some people say they think CLEP is not as good as AP. It's written by the same people. It's the same exams, right? And basically all you really care about is that's one less college course I got credit for. That's checked off. Nobody cares after that, and you move forward. So CLEP is my number one favorite tool to use here. Doesn't always work, so check into it. But if it makes sense, I think it makes logical sense. If you are teaching your son or daughter a program or a course, take these tests or do these programs so that you have college credit, so that you're counting their high school grades and their time they're spending in high school to not so much to accelerate them in college. Some parents worry about that. No, it's to save you a boatload of money if they go to college. If they don't go to college, so what? But if they do go to college, you probably are going to save money. So we have seen students coming into universities that have CLEP'd 45 credit hours of a 120-hour program. Now, that's a whole chunk. That's, puts them into their, sophomore year at least. And so they get rid of a whole bunch of junk there. They get accelerated. There's great things, and they get all kinds of opportunities because they get rid of some of that stuff. Those also tend to be a lot of those weed out courses where you show up into Calculus 1 and there's just hundreds and hundreds of people around you, and many of them will not survive. You've gotten past all that junk, and you're getting to the meat of the things, especially if you're going into something like a STEM career where most students, they find themselves frustrated because they end up in a bunch of math classes instead of doing physics or doing engineering or the things they want to show up in. You get past that and you jump right into your meat courses where you're probably a lot more entertained and a lot more motivated to do the work. So this is a dual credit, CLEP, AP. This is not magic. This is not there's not anything crazy here. This is just kind of common sense principles. So I'm going to give you, again, the dual credit is just really up to the school you talk to, but the CLEP and the AP are well defined on the College Board's website, and we will put them down below. So till next time, thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for watching this. If you have questions, shoot it, post a comment here, shoot us an email at support@askdrcallahan.com. That seems to be people's favorite method of reaching us, and we'll get back to you and get you some answers. Thanks a lot. Have a great one.